tried to tell your parents that I'd like for you to try to take this in January, this exam in January. If you take it in January, I feel like I can get you a good score. All right, I think we could shoot for 600. I think you're all capable of getting a 600 on this test, which is remarkable. All right, because a lot of the high school kids are trying to get a 600. All right, so that's what I'm shooting for. Everybody in here try to get a 600. All right, now a lot of it is just how you think about math, though. All right, some of you are just repeating information, and that's why I'm putting the SAT questions at the end of the test, because they're questions that you have to think about. Right, you have to apply your knowledge. All right, that's very difficult. All right, that's the hard part. All right, so let's take a look at number one. I really feel like this is just mental math for everybody in here. Everybody in here should be able to look at number one and just say, obviously, that's what? 10. That's 10, right? Now, why do I say that? Because I'd put a 3 there, right? And then multiply by 3 and add 1. All right, now, listen, I'm putting D down. And you have to tell me, if you don't know why it's D, some of you just will sit there for whatever reason. Speak up. Remember, the goal is a 600 when you take your exam. All right? We can't miss the easy ones. Anybody have any question with number one? All right, let's take a look at number two. All right, now I want everybody to put on number 2. This is really an Algebra 2 problem. But most of you should be able to get it. All right, there's things called imaginary numbers. All right, an imaginary number is simply the square root of a negative number. All right, but I want someone to try to tell me what the answer is here. It's A. Exactly. Because all we're doing is what? You're just treating imaginary numbers as if you're treating a variable the same exact way. All right? So again, it looks complicated, but what? It's not. All right? So just because you're unfamiliar with something doesn't mean you have no idea what's going on. Is everybody okay with that? All right? Now, everybody knows what an imaginary number is, right? An imaginary number is simply the square root of negative 1. All right? And you'll learn a lot about that in Algebra 2. All right, so now let's take a look at number 3. All right? I just didn't feel like this was that hard either. All right, everybody take a look. Everybody read it real quick. And then when you think you have a good idea, you can raise your hand. What did you think? Which one? C. C? Anybody else? Does everybody agree? Yeah. All right. Now, again, guys, I'm just trying to tell you, these are the actual first 3 or 4 questions of an SAT test. All right, so it's not that bad. All right. Now, if you're not sure about number 3, you got to let me know. Anybody have any issues? All right, let's check out number 4 now. All right, now this one is a really good review. All right, I want you to think about it for a second. All right, then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to break it down for you. Hopefully you'll kind of remember from last year, all right, what the answer is. Anybody pretty confident here? What do you think? B. I got a B. Yeah, B. D. What do you think? B. All right, now what I want to do is, and I kind of want you to kind of write this down, because our next chapter, we're going to be reviewing everything there is to know about lines, all right, in geometry, which is going to be a really good chapter for some of you, all right, because it's kind of a review. It's the second time we've done it, all right? So right now, I want everybody to write down the equation of a line. Who remembers what the equation of a line was? What? Yeah, thank you. Y equals mx plus b. And what did we say m was? Slope. Slope. All right, so make sure you make yourself a note for m is slope. But slope, one of the big things I want you to remember too, is slope is a what? It's a rate. All right? Now, we said slope was defined as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Does everybody remember that? All right. Now, advanced, we're going to write delta y over delta x. Delta is just a symbol for change. So bear with me. So it is called a rate of change. It's called a rate of change. All right? The y is changing and the what? X is changing. That's what slope is defined as. All right? Now, in this particular case, the b, what are we talking about? What is b? Do you remember what b was?
The Y-intercept?
Yes, b is the y-intercept. All right? Now, the y-intercept is also your initial starting point. Now, why do we say it's the initial starting point? Because that's when the x is what? 0. When x is 0, that's where you start. Now, some kids ask me, well, what if I start at -1? You have a great point. All right? But the x equals 0, that's what initial means. All right? And those are key words that you need to look at. All right? So in this problem here, they are specifically asking about 108. Is everybody with me? And if they are asking specifically about 108, they are asking about the what? They're asking about the y-intercept, which is the what? The initial amount or the initial point. Now, how did I know it wasn't C or D right off the bat? Because those are rates. Very, very, very important. The rate is dealing with the what? Slope. All right? So 108 has to do with your initial amount of phones. And so in that case, it would be what? Has to be B. All right? And just give yourself little checks as you're going if you want. All right? But the important part is that you're kind of writing yourself some notes over what you feel is important as I'm going through the problems. Because again, that is difficult. All right? That is the difficult task. All right? I think, do you know how to get on mine? You can use mine. All right? And figure out. You know how to figure it out, right? It's right there. I was plugging it in. I think it's charged now. All right. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you feel pretty good about that. All right, let's move on now. 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, let me pause it here real quick, and let me give you about 5 minutes. All right, I want everybody to try those. If for some reason you already know, I'll show you some better ways of solving things that don't require as much work. Because most of the time when you take standardized tests, kids just run out of time. All right, so I want to try to show you that time is important and that if you just take a few little shortcuts here, you'll see exactly what I mean. So I am sure everybody in here got number 5 correct. What's the correct answer for number 5? All right. Now, how many of you said that 5x is equal to 4, so x is equal to 5 to 4/5? And so then you plugged 4/5 in.
I just did.
Everybody good with that? Right. Now let me show you something. That's what I would want the average kid to do. For the above average, I would want you to look at this and say 5x is 4, right? What's 10x then? 8. There you have it. Is everybody with me? So if 10x is 8, 10x plus 3 has to be what? 11. Right now I don't have to work with the what? I don't have to work with fractions. Does everybody see that? There's generally a relationship between this and this right here that can make it easier. Now you look at me like I'm not going to see that. That's perfectly okay. You're not going to see it on this one, but after we do 100 of them, you should be understanding what I'm saying. All right? Now what I want to do is I want to look at question number 6. All right, now some of you I know are excellent at solving systems of equations, but most of you are probably like, that was last year and I probably forgot. I know how to do it, but I probably forgot. All right, so now watch. We're going to do it both ways because I think it's important that we review systems of equations. But right off the bat, I need everybody to understand x plus y equals 0. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So if two numbers equal 0, that means that they are what? They are what? What's the relationship between the two numbers? They are what? They're opposites. Hear me now. They are opposites. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
So knowing that they're opposites, I know the answer can't be what?
A.
A or D. Is everybody good? Now, I'm going to plug these numbers in here. Now, I know the answer has to be what? B, because I want the answer to be what? I want it to be positive. Now, does everybody see that? All right, I didn't require any math on that. That was just me looking at the numbers and saying, hey, it's got to be positive, so the x has to be what? Positive. Because if the y is negative, that's going to make it a positive and a positive. Does everybody agree? All right, that's an easy way. Of course, now I'm going to remind you how to solve this. All right? Now, to solve this equation, I could simply multiply the top by what? By 2 or by negative 3. I would probably choose 2 just because I don't want to make a mistake with negatives. All right? But if I multiply the top by 2, I get 2x plus 2y equals 0. Everybody remember that?
Yes.
And now when you add that together, you get 5x equals 10, so x equals what? 2. Do I need to go any further?
No.
No, because that's the only x coordinate that's 2. All right? Now again, right there is a really good review of systems of equations. All right, that's what you should already know. All right, if you didn't, if you forgot, that's perfectly fine. All right, that's why we're doing this. All right, now let's take a look at question number 7. All right, another really important problem here, I think, because you may not understand it. It's a unique question. All right, you'd have to kind of think about it carefully to come up with the right answer. All right. Anybody want to give me a shot on number 7? What did you think? A. I'm proud of you guys. If you're pretty good with that, now listen. If you're sitting there, please go, man. I am not seeing that. We just got to practice a little bit, right? So let's talk about it real quick. N represents what? The number of landscapers, right? So this is what's important. N represents the number of landscapers, and H represents the what?
The total number of hours.
Exactly. Right? So now what I said to somebody was, if you have one person working, it's going to cost what? $12 per hour. Do I agree with that? If you have 2 people working, it's going to cost you what? $24 per hour. 3 people working, $36 per hour. Does everybody see that? Right, so sometimes plugging in numbers in for the variable helps you understand exactly what you're talking about. All right, is everybody comfortable with that question? I think that if you got that one right, that's a very good problem to get right. All right. Now let's take a look at question number 8. Now, of course, everybody did this and said, wow, the only possible answer, there's no work, you didn't have to multiply this out, you just had to say, I'm looking for what? 9a to the 4th. 3a squared squared, is that 9a to the 4th?
Yes.
Yes. Is 3 to the 4th 9? Is 9 squared 9? Is 9 to the 4th 9? The answer has to be A. See how silly that was? All right, so again, I'm not asking you to factor that or do anything crazy. You're just supposed to look at the answers and say, how can I make that problem? It's very good on that. Anybody have any questions? All right, let me give you a few minutes now, 9 through 12. Now, number 11, again, if you want to put up there Algebra 2, you can. I'm not expecting you to know that. And that's really the only one I would suspect that you're going to have trouble with, but I'm going to show you how to do number 11. So I'll give you about, okay, I feel good about question 9. Bless you. So what are we thinking about number 9? I think this is just kind of, do you understand? All right, a very, very good question. Casey, what did you think? Everybody good? All right, I don't think that was that bad, right? Because you had to know, do the length and the width have anything to do with the expense? Right, other than what? Just the number, the area that's covered. All right, is everybody happy with that? All right. Now let's take a look at number 10. I was hoping you would kind of listen to what I'm saying, even though R is automatically what? 6. Does everybody say that 6R would be what? 36, right?
36, yeah.
And then 36 plus 3. No, I know. It's okay. Everything is good. I would expect everybody to easily do that. Most people wouldn't take that time because it's easier just to say that R is 6 and plug it in. All right, that's super easy. All right, now something I'm going to teach you, which I really want you to concentrate with me, please. Try to understand what I'm saying. All right, when you get to advanced math, we don't really use square root symbol. All right, so x squared, I would like everybody to tell me what x squared actually means. What does x squared mean? X times x. Okay? So now we had to have a meaning for the square root of x. All right, so does anybody want to tell me what the square root of x is written as an exponent? What do you think it would be written as an exponent? -1 would not be a bad thought. It would be 1/2 though. All right. Now let me explain how they came up with 1/2. Does everybody see this is x to the what? First power. All right. And square root, there's an understood 2 out here. Everybody with me? There's an understood 2 because there is such thing as a cube root. So if I do the cube root of x, that would be x to the what? That would be x to the 1/3. So everybody make yourself a note. Square root of x is the same as x to the 1/2. All right? Now, what I want you to remember is the numerator is the power and the denominator is the what? What do I call the denominator? The root. The square root. The cube root. The 4th root. The 5th root. All right? So the numerator is the power and the denominator is the root. All right? So if you know that, all right, now you should be able to tell me what the answer is. What is it?
D.
D, of course. For those of you guys who are listening, that's the answer. All right? Because again, the numerator is the power and the denominator is the root. Everybody good? That's how simple it is. That's called just a knowledge-based test question. All right? Either you know that or you what? Or you don't. It's not really easy to figure out if you don't know that. All right, so let's take a look now at question number 12. What do we got?
C.
C?
B.
I got a B.
Yeah. O.
Anybody else? No, don't change your answer just real quick. That's lots of times. I thought it was C.
B.
All right, I got C's and B's, right? C's and B's, so let's try to figure it out now.
E.
All right? Yeah, good for E. All right, so make your parents proud. All right, here we go. It says the number of states that joined the United States between 1776 and 1849 is twice the number. All right? So who had more, 1776 to 1849 or 1850 to 1900?
1776 to the other one.
Do we agree? This one had twice as much, right? So if 30 states joined in 1776, if 30 states joined in 1776, that would be more states, correct? Therefore, the correct answer, if I'm talking about an X joined between 1850 and 1900, which of the following is true, guys?
B.
Yeah, very sneaky question. Because why? Because the answer is what?
15.
The answer is 15. Does everybody agree with me? Again, that's how I think you should think about it. The answer is 15. So what equation is that? All right. All right, let's see. moving forward. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, we have time for this. All right? Give it your best shot here. All right, take a look now, and let's see how we're doing. Number 13. Anybody want to give it a shot? A, anybody else? D is good. C is good. All right. Now here, listen to me now. I want to show you how everybody should have just known what the answer is right off the bat. All right. Now here's what I want you to remember. And if you need to take notes because I think it's very helpful. The absolute value, anytime you take the absolute value, the lowest number it can be is what?
0.
0. The absolute lowest number in absolute value can be is what? 0. Because anytime you take the absolute value, it just makes it a what? Positive. Is everybody with me? So now, does everybody see why the only possible answer is what?
A.
Because if this is 0, the lowest it can be is 0, then all of these, B, C, and D would have to be what? Positive. Does everybody agree with that? All right. That's why the only possible answer for 13 was A. Anybody need further explanation of that? That's a nice little problem. That's exactly how I want you to think about it. Any questions? Yes, good.
So you're saying the 0 has to be equal to actual 0.
No, I didn't say that. We want the value to be 0. So B, C, and D cannot be 0 because the lowest the absolute value can be is what? 0. So if I add something to 0, it's going to make it greater than what? 0. This will work because this could be 1. And 1 minus 1 would make it what?
0.
You with me now, right? All right. Very good. Let's take a look at 14. Okay. Now, on 14, I'll be impressed if somebody got this. All right. Ooh. Tell me, Easton. I got an A so far.
A.
B. Good. Good. I like B. Different is good. A. Wow. Okay. Okay. I'm pretty happy with you. Let's see why, for those of you guys who forgot. Now, does everybody understand now? Let's make yourself a note, all right? Functional notation is all over the exam. You have to know what it means, all right? What's inside the parenthesis represents what? X. What it equals to represents what? Y. Now, do you understand in our problem here, we're missing a number. We're missing B. So in order to find B, I have to plug in for X and Y to find B. Is everybody with me? So in this, we would say 7 equals 3/2 of 6 plus B. And what's 3/2 of 6? 7 equals 9 plus B. So B is equal to what?
-2.
Now, accidentally, that's what a lot of people put. They just did some work and they just thought it was -2. Right? But that's what B is. So now our function really is defined as 3/2 x minus 2. And now all I have to do is plug what? -2 in for x. Wow. If you got that, give yourself a good little pat on the back. That's a really important problem. Really important. Functional notation. Functional notation is a big part of the SAT. All right. Here we go. Let's check out number 15 now. Now, number 15, they tried to mess with you just a little bit on this one by setting it up differently. But what is the answer for 15? Anybody? Daniel? A? Anybody else? I got a D. Good. A? All right. Now, what they did was they tried to set it up like this to mess you up. That just means what? X is 6y. You agree with that? Look how that is. One little difference and all of a sudden kids think it's hard. Just multiply both sides by y, right? Now, that means wherever I see an x, I can put what? 6y. So distributing 4y plus 4 equals 6y. 4
equals 2y, so y equals what? So y equals 2. Good job. Good job. Put your feet down. All right. Anybody have any questions with 15? All right. Another good problem for functional notation.
Oh no.
What is the answer?
B.
I got a B so far.
I couldn't find it. I got D.
All right. Now listen. Again, I'm going to stress this again. What does the negative 3x represent? The x. That simply means wherever I see an x, I put what? Negative 3x. Wherever I see an x, I put negative 3x. So f of negative 3x. And here's what I wish you would write down just to make sure you see it properly. F of negative 3x is equal to negative 2, open parentheses, negative 3x plus 5. And now if I simplify that, that just becomes 6x plus 5.
I see what I thought.
All right? Very important, again, that you understand the functional notation. Everybody good? All right, now let's take a look at 17. All right, now, again, the y-intercept is what? So, I know it's not A. I know it's not C. Is the slope positive or negative? That means you're going up the mountain, not down the mountain. So the only possible answer is D. All right, which is coming up next chapter for some of you guys who are like, wow, that was too long ago. All right, we're going to be reviewing everything there is about lines, chapter 3. All right, anybody have any issues with 17? All right. Now 18, 19, and 20. 18, 19, and 20. And we get out. I'm giving you 3 minutes. I just feel like number 18, that review. X equals 1 is a vertical line. Y equals 1 is a horizontal line. This has a y-intercept of 0. This has a y-intercept of 1. These both have slopes of 1. So the correct answer has to be what? D. Now, like I said, believe it or not, it's hard to believe that's on a high school exam, but it is. 18, correct answer is D. All right, 19, you should intuitively know. There's no big secret here. They're asking about arc AC. Once you have the perimeter of 36, that arc has to be what? 9. That was simple, right? Here we go. Come on, concentrate with me. I still want you to listen. Relax, listen, all right? Now, on number 20. 20 was the hard one, all right? And only because most people didn't see they could do what first? Divide by 4. All right, so when I divide by 4 here, I end up with x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Everybody good? All right, now 2 sets of parentheses, x and x. The only factors of 3 are 3 and 1. You want it to be negative 2, so remember our little smiley faces. Negative 3 plus 1. Now, just a quick to make sure, x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, so x is 3 or x is negative 1. 3 or negative 1. All right? Now, again, like I said, hopefully you feel a little better. I promise you the SATs aren't that bad. All right? So no homework, 3 days off.
Thank you.
You're welcome.